to our border shakeup coverage now. The Trump administration has invoked a legal authority that permits them to authorize willing state and local enforcement officers to carry out any of the powers, privileges, or duties of an immigration officer. In addition, the Department of Justice has promised to investigate any officials who stand in the way of immigration enforcement. Today, I sat down with El Paso County's new sheriff to learn more about how he is responding to major changes along our border. This is an interesting time. There's a lot going on. I wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of things. So this week we learned that the Trump administration, specifically the Justice Department, has said it will prosecute officials who do not cooperate, do not comply with the administration when it comes to immigration enforcement. Just your reaction to that right off the jump.
First of all, here, local law enforcement in El Paso, we've always had a great working relationship with federal authorities, with state authorities. So I want to see what the language actually is, what the DOJ, because I've been in law enforcement 22 years here in this community, and in the other agencies, and now with the sheriff's office, we have always cooperated with our federal partners.
Yeah, so I guess El Paso has never been what's deemed a sanctuary city in the sense that authorities do not cooperate with immigration, right? So what's happening right now in cities like Boston, for example, we're seeing this week raids or at least an enforcement effort when it comes to people who had been released because the jurisdictions did not honor ICE detainers, right? Can you explain what that means to people who might not understand that if someone is arrested and in your jail, that ICE can say, hold them for us?
Yes, currently here, El Paso County Sheriff's Office, we do honor detainers. If somebody's booked in the county jail and we have a federal agency that is requesting a detainer, it is filed, and we do detain them for federal authorities.
Okay, well, that has been the tradition,
yes.
But there is a new sheriff in town.
Yes, sir. And that will continue. That will continue. We will still work with federal authorities, and they do issue a detainer, and it's filed at the county jail. We will still honor that detainer.
Do you have concerns in terms of, there have been concerns raised of the Lake and Riley Act, which looks like it'll be signed into law by President Trump. There are concerns that there is a lack of due process, because if someone whose immigration status isn't current, they can be detained on, say, something like a shoplifting charge. And then because they're detained, then ICE will pick them up at the county jail and deport them. Do you have concerns about due process in that instance?
Forcing local authorities by the federal government to enforce immigration law, I think it's going to create a big divide between local law enforcement and our community. And second, we don't have the resources, we don't have the training. I'm short on detention officers, I'm short on deputies on the streets, and our infrastructure. You know, our bed space at the county jails, we're almost at capacity.
So then what happens, I guess, in a practical sense, if in fact you're having to keep people who have been picked up on, a misdemeanor, and if you're the federal government is saying, you got to hold them for us, because if we're not sure about their immigration status, you got to hold them until we can figure this out and maybe deport them.
If these executive orders stick and they're legal, we're going to comply. We're going to help the federal government like we have always done, but we don't have the infrastructure, and we still have to house inmates that broke local laws and state laws. You know, we need to comply with our mandates, keeping this community safe.
That's something that we heard from the mayor, the chief of police earlier this week. They were saying that they're going to make sure that this is still a safe community.
Yes.
But I think the difference here, Sheriff, if you'll allow me, is that you are in charge of the jails. You
Yes.
are in charge, and you'll decide whether or not to honor those ICE detainers. And so what I'm hearing from you right now is they're going to be honored until you get to see the specific language in terms of what the Trump administration has.
Yes. So like I said, history here in El Paso County, we have always honored detainers. As far as the statement from the DOJ, I need to understand the language, what exactly he means, but not cooperating or assisting federal agencies. And then we'll go from there and talk to our county attorney. You know, if there's any legal issues, the sheriff's office is represented by our county attorney, Christina Sanchez. So I think we need a little bit more information to look at any executive orders or guidance that the DOJ is giving federal prosecutors, so we can understand a little bit better. But as far as our local law enforcement deputies out there, we are not focusing on going after immigrants. Right now our plate is full. We have a lot of crime in our community that we need to face, such as DWIs. DWIs in our community, they're really affecting us. We need to focus on our basics: public safety and enforcing state laws. We'll just have to wait, see what comes down the pipeline from the federal government. But like I said, our resources are short.
When it comes to honoring those ICE detainers, there is a political decision that's made in cities that do not honor those detainers. I'm using Boston as an example. I'm just curious as to, from your standpoint, would there ever come a time where politically you will not want to work with this administration? Is there a line that you'll draw?
Me politically, I do not agree with the policies that the Trump administration is putting in place. But I am a law enforcement official, and if these orders are legal and I need to comply with them, I will always follow the law.